I'm really excited to be here. Usually behind the scenes on Discord, and every now and then they let me show my face on the streams and say hi to you all. So thanks for joining us again. Okay, I'll share my screen, and then y'all just have to let me know whether or not you can see it. 1 second. Can everyone see this? Let me know in the chat. Awesome. Okay. Hey, John, welcome.
Hey, Gus. Hey, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Cool. All right.
I was just going to share the screen, but also you're welcome to do that too. I was just kind of getting folks going. Maybe before we do that, do you want to do a quick intro so everyone knows who you are and what you work on?
Yes, thank you. So, hey, everybody. I'm John. I'm one of the product managers on the Firefly site, especially, but generally Firefly. I was telling some students yesterday, what is a product manager? I think my folks have been asking that for like the last 20, 25 years. So I basically try to understand what you all want and then get it done. And so, yeah, it's basically like shaping the product based on what folks need. And thank you for your feedback so far. Would love to hear what you think of what we just shipped, plus maybe some of the stuff we're talking about. There were a bunch of sneaks. Hopefully you got to see some of that at Max. If you didn't, we can share some links to sets of recordings. It's really cool stuff. There's all kinds of things around like, being able to sketch and turn that into more finished artwork. There's stuff around like 3D. There's all kinds of good stuff. We can get to that. But yeah, that's me. So happy Friday.
Thanks for jumping in, John. Happy Friday. John and I were at Max last week together. We got to meet for the first time. It was super fun. So we're back in action again this week.
And like Gus, you fall into this like large class of guys. I'm like, oh, surprisingly fit. All right, good for you. Like I'm living my life behind a keyboard and letting myself go, but I'm like, these other guys are not. So good for them.
You got to make room for it. I sit in front of my keyboard a lot, but I try to play sports. Actually, last night I played my first game of the season of Ultimate Frisbee. Have you ever played Ultimate Frisbee? It's really fun.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's like a Silicon Valley subculture around like Ultimate Frisbee folks. So I've definitely I've gone to games. Yeah.
I noticed like at the game, like pretty much everyone on our team and the team that we played against, they were all like, and I mean this in the most endearing way possible, like pretty nerdy, which was great. Like it wasn't like a bunch of jocks like trying to fight each other. We were all like really into the strategy of the game and trying to come up with concepts to like get past the defense and score, and it was super fun. It seemed like more cerebral than most sports I've played, where like the biggest, fastest, strongest person usually wins. So it was cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. There's our Frisbee tangent. I'm sure you're seeing right now. I wanted to show folks just real quickly this image 2 beta, which is pretty cool. There's a little slider. Maybe you've seen this on firefly.adobe.com. But maybe we can spend like just one rev here, John, like doing just a random generation. Maybe we can take some suggestions from everyone that's watching. I set this up too I let everyone know before you got here. I think we'll spend the first like maybe 10, 15 minutes just playing around in some of the new tools that were announced at Max. And then we'll get more into like the nitty gritty of what we shared at Max once we see folks starting to join in. Because there's always a little bit of a delay for whatever reason.
Totally. And that's good because I'm as you know, all of our like internal security stuff, you got to like keep logging into things. So I'm just trying to get my computer into a good state so I can show everybody some cool things. But yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have any Friday inspiration stuff you want to try?
Yeah, I just put a thing in the chat too. You're all welcome. If you don't know where the chat is, in the top right corner of the Discord window, there's a little chat button. If you click on it, it'll pop it out. You'll be able to see where we're typing. So if you have a suggestion, I'll put it in here. We'll play around with it. And then I got a couple other things we can show off, and John probably has some ideas as well. So I'll just take about 5 minutes of this.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, this will be like, I will endlessly plug this because most people haven't found it, but you can share links. Maybe people in this group have found it because we're like more in the know, but you can share links to these recipes. So I'll drop one in the chat if I have it here. So let me see. I'm gonna make sure this one is actually the one I think it is. But I saw, come on, load for me.
I went ahead and combined two breakdancing vampire on a mountaintop covered in snow during golden hour. So
Nice.
let's see
Nice.
what happens.
Nice. You should share the link to that. Okay, so this was I should credit the person. I'll try to find their tweet, but somebody had discovered you can take emoji and hopefully like it's in the right if you want to. You can obviously see it embedded there, but you can like just click that if you want to like create this. But what's cool is it's yeah, you basically put in like emoji, then you specify the style. Maybe I don't even need the word style, but anyway. But I was like yellow sweating face with a cowboy hat. And the cool thing though, if you click it or tap that link, it should take you into the Firefly site with that visible, but then you can change that, right? And so we can like
Cool.
take the stuff you're doing, Gus, like if you get a cool vampire example, right? Like you can copy a link and paste it. And then folks can kind of do like Photoshop tennis with the results.
That yeah, that's let's try that. Maybe we can try it out here live. I
Sure.
just was playing around with this a little bit. These are, I think you can see this too, John. These are so funny to me. I don't know why, but I
Those
kind
are
of like
pretty
this
good.
guy. Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
pretty nice. Okay, so maybe
You
should I
want,
open up the link that you shared here, and then we can,
sure, sure,
and then use this as a starting place. So here,
sure.
walk me through what would I do here? Like, what would
Oh,
you suggest the change be?
I mean, let's try let's get rid of yellow sweating face emoji and just put in, I don't know, Japanese ogre or something, like just a different emoji. Like if you can think of a
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
um,
I think it's like called an oni, like Japanese.
ogre, OGRE. Yeah, I don't know if it'll. I just go
Let's see.
go. Yeah, well, what the heck? I mean,
Let's try them both and see. Okay, let's just see what happens.
sure. With a cowboy hat. Why not? By the way, one thing that we've talked about is like the ability to do kind of Mad Libs with prompts. I think would be really fun. Like if when you shared
Yeah,
this, you could also make it sort of more token based. That would, I think, enable. Oh, okay,
yeah.
interesting.
This is cool. I
That
actually
is
really
kind of
like
cool,
this
right?
one.
Yeah. See,
Yeah,
like once you have the ability to just kind of share that, and by the way, maybe you could like, yeah, if you kind of,
yeah.
I don't know if you know this trick, but you do like the gentle like double tap on your trackpad, and the Mac will zoom in on that region.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
so in the upper right, if you guys haven't seen this, under that menu, there's copy link. And so yeah, like you're seeing, copy link, um, not it composes a durable link, and then depending on how you share it, like if it's Discord or Twitter or whatever, it will auto expand that preview image. So
Yeah,
you get the benefit that you would from embedding just a JPEG, but then people can actually jump in and kind of riff on what you did. Um, so yeah.
yeah. This is super cool, and I guess a shout out for folks on Discord. We have our share your work channel, and I think I've seen more of this recently, but a really fun way to share work as opposed to downloading and then uploading to Discord is to just do this link, and then people can look at that link and see what you created, and then they can use it, like John's saying, like as a starting place if they want to riff around with the same prompt. So it can be kind of a fun way to share and collaborate. Okay,
Yeah.
so I know we're well into this. John, do you want to pilot, or do you want me to show off? The
Sure.
other thing I wanted to show off was text to template in
Oh yeah,
Express,
please.
which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, please.
And then I also have pulled up, if anyone's curious, I was playing around with text to vector this morning, and it's just really kind of blows my mind how cool it is. So we can play around that, and maybe like after you share the announcements, or maybe some of the updates for Max. But that's kind of all I had on my little agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll do this text to template. Does anyone have a template idea? Otherwise, I'll just make it up. But like, you have a need right now that you like, could be an occasion or a topic. We can see what it comes up with. Okay, cool. Concert poster. I guess 'tis the season in the U.S. for Halloween, so let's do Halloween concert poster. I do a little agree here. Yeah, I know the puns are actually, John. Maybe you might know more about this. I was really astonished at actually how funny the jokes and some of the copywriting is on the templates. Do you know more about
Oh,
that?
no, I don't. I was joking with our designer Kelly, who killed it on stage in the sneaks. because she dropped some dad jokes, and she's like a millennial woman, obviously. But I was like, "You're an honorary dad." Like she described some frog-based thing as looking riveting, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I see now why I make my kids want to give up.
Yeah, Kelly's the best. I really
I
like
say
her
I say that
presentation.
I say that with respect. Yeah. Right.
But like here, even here, I added in spooky puns, right? And it's like a spooktacular spectacle, haunted
Hmm.
harmonies, music of macabre.
Right.
I just think it's pretty fun. Like, I mean, these are cool. So, anyways, you can click one you like, and then go into it. It'll load your template, and then you can use this as a starting place, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, as with all this stuff, really the key thing for us to do our jobs well is to hear from you all and to understand, like, what of this do you like? What do you not like? What do you want us to take further? Um, do you want this kind of thing extended to Photoshop, Illustrator? Where would it actually like solve a problem versus just being kind of cool? Um, I think what's so fun about working on AI is that it's literally just, I mean, it's just the first quarter at best. We're just starting to discover, needs and opportunities. So, um, yeah, like let us know. Please go check it out. Try it live and let us know what you think. Um,
Yeah, it's super important.
yeah. So let
John, I
me.
went ahead and stopped sharing my screen. If you want to,
Okay.
I mean, you're welcome to start
Yep.
piloting if you want. If you have some things you want to share, the floor is yours. And then we can
Okay.
just kind of let folks trickle in. I imagine we're going to see some people start joining again in about 5 minutes. So
Interesting. Yeah. It's always by the way, I don't know. Adobe, it's funny because you always try to social engineer these things, and it's like we set our meetings to start 5 minutes after the hour. So then everybody shows up at like 6 or 7 minutes after the hour. But what's great is if you use Microsoft Teams, you can always like credibly say it was Teams' fault. They're like, I don't know, there's some like login thing, which like half the time is actually true. Um,
totally true.
but yeah, everybody shows up a little late. I just wanted to
Oh,
highlight
right.
one thing, and I'll show this feature in case you guys somehow haven't seen it. But like a couple things. So the top, let me see if it's that's not it. Um, the uh, number one feature request that folks have had, and let me just bring it up because I have it handy, has been for the ability to upload images and use those to guide synthesis. And so we've always imagined this being kind of a multi-part approach where you can use an image for style. You could also use an image for structure, and you could kind of mix those things together, right? So you could say like, well, I want to take my living room, but I want to, use a oil painting style. And rather than just describing those with text, which of course you can still do, you could have your specific living room and this like specific oil painting, kind of mix those together. So as you can see, this has been like 2-to-1 top request folks have had. So the good news is now you can, as hopefully you've seen, upload an image um, in Firefly, and you can use that, as you're seeing here, this image, use that to then guide the synthesis process. The thing I just wanted to put my finger on for a second is how do we do that in a way where we don't basically make a rip-off engine, right? Like just to put it plainly. And believe me, we talked about this for a lot of time. And you're kind of balancing competing goals, right? On the one hand, it's like, all right, I'm walking my dog, I see some beautiful sunlit leaves, I'm inspired. I'd like to be able to mix that into my creation. Great. No one would be like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. On the other hand, it's like, okay, I go browse some Ansel Adams images, I download one, and I mix that in. Is that okay? That's different. And then it's like, oh, if I pull something off Behance for some, living artist who's trying to make a living, okay, that starts to feel not great. So how do we technically kind of make it so you can, enable and encourage the one but not the other? And there's not a silver bullet. I'll just say that from the jump. But the cool thing is, like when you upload something, we now do check for content authenticity credentials. So there's a credential around basically letting you say, can this work be used with AI? Like, is this okay? Like if you put something on Behance, somebody were to download it, there should be some way for you to express your intention or desire. So that's what we're working on. There's a group, contentauthenticity.org. If you hear of CAI or content authenticity, that's really what it all is. Basically, it's just standards. It's not like DRM, like, oh, prevent somebody from copying a movie, because frankly, people are going to get around that stuff pretty readily. It's more around helping ethical, honest creators, treat each other in the way you want to be treated. And so we're starting by enabling the scanning for this data, but in the near future, I hope, we will make it really easy for you to like place those parameters onto your work and to go and check to see whether those are in somebody else's work. So let me just show again, because not everybody maybe has seen this. Although statistically, I'm amazed and thrilled at how many people actually have found this. Sorry, hopefully nothing weird on my extremely messy desktop. But like, let's take this metal sloth, and so you can see it's saying checking uploaded image. Now I've already uploaded this image, so it didn't hit me with the little notice. But if this were new, it would say like, hey, make sure that you actually have rights to use this thing, right? And even hopefully that little speed bump just makes people be like, maybe the Ansel Adams thing not really cool for me to use. But
isn't
now
that image saved too, like with it? Like that's what you're talking about too, right?
Exactly right. Yep. So just while that's thinking, there's a blog post from Scott Belsky that talks about this, and I linked to it from my blog. Just a little plug. Yes, I am still blogging in 2023. It's kind of like being a hair metal band. I feel like I'm just going to keep doing it, and eventually it's going to come back.
It always does.
It always does. It's like jean jackets. You just got to wait, and then don't throw them away. They'll come back.
I don't know though. AFAX didn't come back. I don't know. Are cassettes
okay.
still again?
Gus, don't don't yuck my yum, man. Like, no, you're right. But we'll see. Anyway, for me, jnac.com is just like a nice, easy way to like kind of bookmark this stuff and make it categorized. So anyway, one of the articles I have linked to, though, it talks about this detail. And like Gus was saying, when you upload an image, we save a thumbnail in a database so that if there were a dispute in the future, there's a record of this. It's not meant to be spyware. We say all of this is happening. That's just one of the protections we build into the feature. I think in the future, what'll be really powerful is when this stuff isn't just metadata that's like super easy to lose, even if you don't intend to. If you just like change JPEG to a PNG or like gets resized, the stuff can get thrown away. What we're working on is letting you actually embed it in the image pixels in an invisible way. Again, not to creep on anybody. This is something you would choose to do. But when you do that, then if that image gets moved around and somebody opens it in a future version of Photoshop and it's like, oh, cool. Like I want to, make, Gus do this cool watercolor. I now want to make something. Well, if I, pulled it off Gus's site and he said, hey, I don't want that to be used in that way. Again, I don't want to promise, but the intention is Photoshop would look for that and go, oh, okay. Actually that's owned by Gus and, sorry. And, or contact him if you want to use this thing, which I think is like the totally fair, reasonable thing. Okay.
Yeah, John, we have a couple of questions from chat. Do you mind if I squeeze them in here?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Stian's wondering, and sorry again, please let me know phonetically if that's incorrect. If I upload an image, is the image used by Adobe? Like sometimes I have rights to use an image, but not give away the rights, if that makes any sense.
Totally. Yeah. So it is not used, like we don't train off of it. We don't do anything with it other than save it if you want to come back. And actually, I think at the moment, like if I were to just close this tab, if I hadn't just saved a favorite, that's all gone, right? So it's only uploaded in browser memory for this session and you wouldn't be able to get it. So this is actually like a little plug for things like favorites and sharing by link. If I do, which I actually really like these results. So if I want to be able to come back to this in the future, I hit the little heart. Hopefully you've discovered favorites. And I was, just saving these different creations. So now when I go back and open one of these, you'll see the little sloth image is still there. And if I were to copy link, by the way, it also applies these content credentials. So we're just trying to have like a trail of breadcrumbs, like who made this. So if I pop an incognito window, so again, I'm not logged in this view, what you'll see is the image, all of the parameters, and again, you'll see the little sloth chilling over there in the corner. So this will become, like, I think it's interesting now. This is like the first time that sharing a link has been a lot more useful than just copying and pasting a prompt, right? Like, because copy paste the prompt, you get most of it. Like maybe you don't get like all the seeds and you don't get the stuff on the right, but you get the bulk of it. And that's nice because it's like, oh, somebody has a Midjourney prompt. I could try that in Firefly, and that's not going away. But as we move to things like letting you use an uploaded image or letting you use 3D, actually to drive a scene. Then it starts to become like, oh, well, there's no way I can just capture that as a text string, right? So you actually want to share a link that has all the ingredients built in. But anyway, to answer your question, no, we don't do anything with that image. It's there just for your use.
Cool, thanks, John. And I think there was some comments earlier about control net and better like compositional control. So I think first of all, control net I know is something that you've talked about before, but also like
Yeah.
3D scenes and like compositional control or sketching, like you mentioned earlier, are all really exciting avenues
Yeah.
to try to get closer to your intention without relying solely on text. So
Yeah, and let me actually on that note, so I feel like Miracle on 34th Street, like, well, you could go across the street to Gimbals, you know? So yeah, we don't have everything implemented yet, as you obviously know. So I just want to give a shout out to people who are pushing it. There's these couple guys I've met in San Francisco, a company called Krea, and Krea.ai slash tools, and then they've got different creators. So you guys might have seen, let me gosh, where is it? I want to be able to find it. I don't know if I can quickly, but there've been all these amazing like negative space compositions that you guys might have seen. Where here, I'll just quickly scroll back through my Twitter feed, see if I can find it. Oh, sorry. But basically, using an image. So if you haven't heard of this technology, ControlNet, it's a way to like spatially condition an image. Oh, by the way, this is my goofy little BS hobby. I like to screenshot Twitter trends that don't have anything to do with each other, and then just feed them into AI generators and like see what comes out. So yesterday it was like John Fetterman, Kraken, and Iron Dome, and so I was just like, yes, what would Senator John Fetterman look like fighting a giant octopus? I don't know. Apparently, this is what Midjourney thinks. I put this one in
John,
Midjourney just because
do you share these on
what's
Twitter when you do these
I do,
creations? You share them? All right, we got
I
to link.
do, I do. I don't know if
Okay,
it's
we
a
got
good
to link your
idea.
Twitter account so people can follow you.
Okay,
That's so
I'm
great
JNack.
idea.
Okay, I'm JNack everywhere. So here, I'll drop this this specific one in. Um, I actually think it would be really interesting to like build a specific experience around this. But yeah, the first one that was like Keanu Reeves, Peter Thiel, and Chernobyl. Like I don't know what they have to do with each other. Nothing literally, except it's funny to think they do. And then to like put them together, and it's like, yeah, they're just like bumming in Chernobyl together. Or there's other ones I did where um, it was I don't know what Cocaine Shark is. I probably shouldn't. But it's like, yeah, Bill Hader and Cocaine Shark, or Wes Anderson, Satanic Temple, TJ Maxx, and it's like, well, there you go. And then I really like,
Those are incredible.
right? It's pretty amazing. Ice Cube and UFOs were trending together, so it's like, okay, there's Ice Cube and a bunch of UFOs. Again, I used Midjourney for this just because by design we haven't trained Firefly on things like pictures of celebrities, and therefore, if I put an Ice Cube, I'm sure it would be a very beautiful cube of ice, but not this dude. And then just for fun, I took him into Runway ML. They have a image to video conversion tool, which is really fun, and made that. Um, but let me try to get back on topic if there is one.
I do
So
have a question for you whenever
sure.
you round out your idea, but I didn't get to it a minute ago, so I wanted to make sure we covered off on
Oh,
it.
oh, sure, sure. Just quick things. By the way, I also would forget to mention this, but um, if you guys may or may not have seen this, you can actually save to libraries now from Firefly. So that's a new thing. It's subtle. It's under that download or share menu. But what you're seeing here is being able to capture artwork with a prompt in your cloud library and then place that into Express or Photoshop or wherever you like, and be able to make some new stuff. I would have forgotten, but I just tweeted that out. And so yeah, generally I'm just trying to share like cool work people are doing. Let me quickly go back. Oh gosh, if you guys haven't seen this, I'll try to touch on it, maybe give a quick demo. But there's this project Draw and Delight, and being able to do things like take this piece of high art, little cat sketch, and turn it into that cat. Not available yet, but I think would be an amazing piece that we want to bring to the world. And sorry, I thought I had this bookmarked. Oh, and also with the generative match stuff, here's a nice demo I did where I think this was the preset that's in the Firefly stream, and just by uploading different images, not changing the prompt at all, I was able to get these like wildly different creations. And again, you can take any image you've got. Again, be mindful of copyright, please. But yeah, just like getting these like completely different things. And I wouldn't have I wouldn't even know how to prompt for that. I don't know really how to describe that, but
Is
it's a
that Last
really
Hand, the Vitruvian Man? Is
it
that what it's
it
called?
does. We needed
Yeah,
like another hand behind it, you know. But then people would say we don't know about fingers, which and be like, no, we do. We actually do now.
it's art.
Also, here's one tip that's kind of helpful to know. So there's this slider visual intensity. Candidly, it's not like my favorite name. Like, what does that mean? But it's sort of a realism slider. And so here's the same prompt, and if you crank up the visual intensity, um, maybe you can see it's like slightly more like smooth skin, and it's like this sort of like more illustrative look. Whereas if you go to the left, this looks like a straight up picture you'd see on Facebook. And so the visual intensity is cranked down on that one. So that is all available over here on the right. So there you go, visual intensity. You can mess with that. I have no idea actually what it would do with this dog, and I'm a little scared. So like, but why not just mess with these things in front of friends and see what happens?
Let's
I don't
do
know.
it.
Like, I mean, that's what's cool is like the possibility space is so big. You can't possibly have tried everything. So I'm just curious. So I have this uploaded little sloth. I have the exact same close up of a mystic golden doodle, like a phoenix, red and blue colors digital. Um, okay. Well, this one is so illustrative. What if I just get rid of the sloth and hit generate? We'll see what it does. I mean, to some extent, part of the challenge for us is like, well, what do you do when you give it like mismatched inputs, right? I'm saying red and blue, but then I'm giving it a silver sloth. And then I'm like kind of messing with these print. Well, okay. I mean, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's
But I think
cool.
you would see this more readily if you were like trying to do a specific human. And on that note, let me just show you, this is like our internal wiki. I wanted to show some of the cool examples people are making. And again, just by taking like one sort of seed image and then changing the prompt, you can get a lot of visual consistency. And it
Mm.
feels like every day I wake up, check Twitter, and somebody is like, oh, here's a cool tutorial on visual consistency. Usually what they want is like consistent individuals. So it's like, oh, Gus and John are in this storyboard, and I always want it to be specifically those two guys, not two like demographically similar guys. So we don't really have that yet. There's no like way to make like a Gus token, John token. Obviously, that would be great. We would love to offer that. But in the short term, if you just want to get like a consistent style, using a particular reference image is a really powerful way to do that. And actually, I think what's interesting here is it's the same prompt. I don't know offhand what it is, but I'm sure it's something eagle related. And again, just changing that one image produces like really different results. I
Yeah.
like this kind of blinged out Baroque eagle. Might have to use him in
You
some
know,
way.
when you shared those dog portraits a second ago, it had me thinking probably one of the easiest Etsy side hustles you could start right now is doing like stylized pet portraits for people where you
Right,
have a
right.
reference of their pet and then you do, you can come up with your own style using Gen AI, but that's like then your like that would be pretty easy and
It,
pretty
it,
cool.
it,
I think you come up with some
it
pretty neat
would.
results.
It would. And no one is asking for this, which is of course why I will then go and do it. But I just wanted to show. So again, we also not only have a work blog, I have a family blog. Uh, and let's see. Okay, I just wanted to show. So this was done a couple years ago. So this is my son and our dog Seamus. And there's that Doge meme, Doge, but it also
Yep.
Doge is like a medieval Venetian ruler. So we just thought it'd be funny to like put our Doge, like yo dog, I made your Doge into a Doge. And so we found again somebody on Etsy or wherever, and they made us this beautiful print, and it's hanging in Finn's room. Oh yeah, and also this guy has mustache goals, but that's unrelated. But yeah, to your point, Gus. I mean, actually, this might be interesting to people on this call. Is like we want to make it so that you can create like practical, commercially interesting stuff. Again, part of why we felt so strongly about training only on work for which we had a proper license is that that lets us turn around and then say, yep, this is legally cool. You can make derivative stuff and have ownership of that, not worry somebody's going to sue you. And if they do sue
Yep.
you, God forbid, you're indemnified. Adobe's got your back. Let me just show a few more examples. Again, this is this is a studio portrait of a fluffy llama, hyper realistic, shot on a white cyclorama. And again, just different styles. Also, the level of realism we can get is pretty wild. So again, if you turn down that that visual intensity slider, sorry, I thought I could click on this guy. For some reason, I can't. Oh, here we go. Yeah, hopefully it'll load. But yeah, like I don't know if it'll come through with the video compression, but like
that's really nice.
Right, that's nuts. Look at the pores on this guy, which is not something I usually say. I was joking on Twitter because it's sort of like, the worry. It's like AI gets so good, who needs Photoshop? But then opportunity, AI gets so good, you need Photoshop to Photoshop out the blemishes. See, so we're always thinking. Not seriously.
We never paint ourselves into a corner.
That's right. You always have to keep. It's like granting someone eternal youth and then sentencing them to life in prison. You always have to get it back. But just right, showing some of these, showing this one to the guys at the gym, and they were then critiquing this dude's diet. They're like, "Well, you would never put that glaze on the wings, so you never get that ripped." Anyway, but I love that. Like that's the kind of conversation you can now have based on AI art. One of our teammates, Lee, loves sloths. Don't know what the backstory is. Oh shoot, that didn't work. But yeah, he does a lot of sloth-based visuals. So yeah, like obviously, please do come and play and give us your feedback. As always, there's the little thumbs up, thumbs down buttons on work. The one that we take we pay most attention to is flag. Hopefully you'll very rarely have to use that, which is report. But if there is anything like really problematic, like I'm not going to go through with it, but like I don't know if this was like not safe for work or this was like a copyright violation, we do want to please hear about that, and it's a very small stream, but we put those at the top of the queue of stuff to look at. But even just the thumbs up, thumbs down helps the model team understand what you like. And by the way, there's another feature that's kind of subtle, but I wanted to mention. So if you turn on suggestions, which is on by default, so capybara, it'll be like, oh, do you want a capybara with a hedron attracts? Okay, I don't know what that is. But anyway, let's go with a river and a tree on one side, and we'll generate this guy. But basically, we're using a language model to kind of build out the richness of the prompts that you can put in. So we'll see what this guy comes up with.
We have some quick feedback from Sion in chat around what eventually once credits are being counted at some point. They had said basically when they do roll out the auto generation that happens sometimes, if you select new parameters, it automatically goes. It would be nice if instead it was you always prompt it when it actually goes, so you're not accidentally using credits before you're ready. I think that's what you mean. Let me know if I need to clarify.
Yeah, completely agreed. And in fact, I want to think that we have no more cases where it auto-generates in that way. But if there's any edges that we have missed, please let us know.
Yeah.
So, because exactly for that reason, we don't want to surprise you and needless to say. By the way, so yeah, hopefully these are some pretty visually realistic capybaras. Let me just crank up the visual intensity just for the lulz and see what happens. And see if they're more, I don't know, painterly or stylized.
They're gonna look beautiful.
Yeah, just for what definition of beautiful? That's an interesting topic. Oh God, those are beautiful. Holy cow. Okay.
Majestic.
The majestic capybara. My son, by the way, has always done a David Attenborough, I'm Elias Fakanami, which is alias fake name. And so I'm like, yes, you're definitely my boy. But yeah, that's
right.
Right, that's right. You have these little moments where you're like, all right, cool. The next generation is at least going to be ironic, if not anything else. But yeah, time is going by as it usually does. I wanted to mention, so on my blog, sorry to keep plugging it, but I do have a category for AI/ML, and within that, I have a category for just Firefly stuff. So you can find all that just jnac.com. It'll direct you to the right place. But I wanted to mention, like within the sneaks, there's some super hot stuff. Like the nice problem to have is there's so many internal Adobe teams who are now taking like the core Firefly models, extending those, and then integrating them. That I'm like, oh my, I didn't even know that so and so was working on that. That's pretty cool. Um, and I won't go through these just in the interest of time. But yeah, basically generative fill for video. It kind of seems like a big deal. Okay, I can't resist going to like one part of it because I've been staring at this dude's necktie for way too long. But I'll make this a little bigger. Um, and again, watch these at your leisure. I think there's a YouTube channel where they're all organized. Hopefully, yeah, hopefully that's playing. But basically, the demo is just drawing a very simple selection around this guy's shirt region, and then picking and saying I want there to be a necktie. You get the necktie, and then as the video plays, it's actually going to like propagate those pixels in a realistic way. So like as he moves down the stairs, you see the lighting is changing, his orientation is changing, and so you get a pretty realistic result. That's one of many. If I go to,
On
oh,
that note,
so
John, if folks here haven't checked out the sneaks from Max, I don't know. Like, I think they're really cool every year, but this year in particular, I was really pretty blown away by some of them, and they're all on YouTube, so you can check them
yeah,
out. I'm sure we've got some links here in the chat.
yeah, thank you. And actually, what's rough is like seeing all the things that don't make the cut. I'm like, how can we not also show that? So yeah, there was a bunch of great stuff on stage, and then a bunch of other stuff kind of like waiting in the wings, like maybe needs a little more bake time. We'll show it next time. Um, by the way, if you're a real diehard here, you might remember I've given some sneaks in the past of using 3D to condition generation in Firefly, and for various reasons, we still haven't shipped it. Not for lack of desire, but this is a demo of like, well, what if you took that even further? And so not only be sort of like 3D primitives, but you could actually be like posable humans, right? And so like for me using Firefly today, you kind of hit some of the limits of the state of the tech. Like I was trying to make a design for my brother's new truck. So he's a trucker. He bought a milk truck. He wanted two cows standing up, one cow lying down, and they all had to be female. And like you wouldn't think that's a big deal, but like getting the composition and was hard just with prompts. And so with tools like this, the idea is like you could potentially like sketch a couple cows. You could place a cow model. You could have a posable cow, right? Now maybe most of the time you don't need to do that. That's fine. Um, and here it's like, okay, big whoop. It's like, all right, just placing a 3D model, but like then you can give that input basically as an image to Firefly. Now, one of the reasons we haven't shipped it, the quality here is like it's okay, but this is actually based on an earlier version of Firefly. One of the challenges is like, okay, you have to do certain things in sequence, like finish the model, get it out the door, then start building like new ways of using it. But let me show you, this is actually pretty cool. So what if you could take like a photo of a person, like this little dude doing martial arts, and then analyze that, and then have that pose applied to the rigged character. And then you could use that to guide Firefly generation. Now I think we're getting somewhere kind of interesting, right? And again, like the nutty kind of, I don't know that it's like feel like Seinfeld. It's too much, right? It's like, well, you could of course cross-reference that with style images. So like, why not take a beautiful oil painting and a particular pose from a photo, and then get the camera angle you want and turn it into an oil painting, and then say in the future, oh, this is specifically Gus. I don't know, doing martial arts. So it's the combinatoric power that I think gets really sexy here. And again,
Yeah.
what we're trying to do with saving these recipes is to go way beyond just what a prompt alone can capture, right? So you can actually get like really specific compositions and have those persist in the cloud.
What's really cool is like what you're describing when models sort of come together and have this compounding effect of control, and like you can really get down to your desire. It's like super powerful. But then there's like this other side of Gen AI, at least for me right now, where like I kind of like depending on the need, right? It's sometimes very nice to be surprised by Type of model. Like don't give it too much. Just give it something, and maybe it'll like serve as inspiration. And so I feel like I don't know, just like thinking aloud here, it's like no matter how far we push it into the direction of like I want to be able to compound all these effects from different models. There's still something magical and really fun about just like letting the thing have some fun and
Look,
not giving
here, and I'm
and then riffing off of it. So,
Yeah,
anyways, I think it's
totally.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and actually, the designer James on the video team has a really nice illustration where he's got like these two sort of inverse triangles, and on the one end, it's basically like number of inputs relative to outcomes.
share with you something
Sorry,
pretty groundbreaking.
I'm just trying to let this play while not Paul and me talking over each other. I'm just going to show some of the text to vector stuff in case you haven't seen this. It's more interesting than watching me. But yeah, on the one end, it's like, well, you could put in just a couple words, like you could say a house, and it's like you're specifying very little, and it's like, let's see what the engine comes up with. On the other end, you might want to be like, oh, it's a Victorian with two gables, and the gable on the left is taller. At some point, like just using words becomes kind of frustrating, right? And so you want to help people like find the right spot where at the right phase of your process you get the right control, right? Is it like a few words and like give me a lot of ideas, or is it like I want more specific iterations, and maybe then I'm like, okay, cool, I want that dog, but now I want to mix in the oil painting and get him to look a specific way. By the way, behind the scenes, one of the neat things that Illustrator is doing, and you can check all this out if you have if you're a Creative Cloud subscriber, just refresh your apps. Like don't ignore that little CC icon in the menu bar. So if you download the new copy of Illustrator, you'll have all this, but it actually conditions the generation of artwork. So that's what Paul is showing here, match active artboard style based on the surroundings. And this to me, like, honestly, it's like inside the sausage factory. It was like, I don't know, guys. Like I was for months, and it's like the vectors are a little sus. But once they turn this on, and it uses the same generative match tech that the Firefly website uses, I'm like, okay, like now, like I can make my dog, but he actually looks like the rest of my artwork, which is to me pretty game changing. Again, with all this stuff, it's supposed to make like really clean, editable vectors. Obviously, like that kind of generation is hard. Going way back to the days of HTML, it's like, okay, I want you to make the website for me, but like I wouldn't have written the code that way. Or like, yeah, it's like it did it, but now it's not editable. And the aspiration here is to like make really like simple, clean, sort of human-made vectors that would approximate what you as a human would make. So always more work to be done. The team is like super receptive to feedback. So I think they've labeled this a beta, meaning specifically, yes, like let us know, like what's it good at, what is it not good at yet. All of that's super helpful. Obviously working with them to fine tune it.
The Illustrator application for this to me is really stellar. I don't know about you, John, but I've tried to use Illustrator over the years, and I'm okay at it just out of practice. But it's can be kind of hard to learn vectors and build with shapes and subtract things and add things and figure out how all the different panels and tools work. And I felt so much more empowered being able to go in there and at least have a starting place. Like it usually generates pretty clean subjects and pretty clean scenes without too many points and too many lines, and you can use it as like a starting place for some customization. So it looks like Nate says the same thing in chat. So if you haven't tried it yet, it's in Illustrator. So if you have Illustrator, just update to the newest version and you can play around. There should be actually a dialogue that pops up. It did for me at least, and it said, hey, we now have these cool tools. If you click on it, it does like a micro tutorial. And it's actually a video of Paul, who we just had on the screen. And he kind of walks you through how to use the tool, which is really handy.
Cool. See, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
They probably added that after I downloaded it. And by the way, with this little Twitter tutorial, Paul's also showing you can take the layered output now into Adobe Express, which supports vectors and has animation support. And then you can start doing things like getting this pretty cool little animation. Just so I think some presets, right? You don't even have to mess around with like keyframes and motion paths, and like those things are amazing if you want to do it, but like shouldn't have to just get something cool, like a little parallax or a bounce or whatever. So yeah, I'll keep going for days.
Who created that?
Even after you guys hang up, it's like the refrigerator light. Like you just know I'll still be here like talking. But no, please jump in with comments, questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep showing some cool stuff.
Yeah, John, I think we're about at time, so you're welcome to keep going. Yeah, like you said, if anyone has questions, maybe squeak them in now while you can. We'll probably sign off in the next couple of minutes. But we say this every time. I'd like to do this more often, so maybe we can pencil in a time for next week and just kind of keep it going. I feel like there's a lot of excitement right now and earlier this year. Like what if we could do all these things? And we've been doing sneak previews of different things that Firefly could or may do in the future. And now, like a lot of that's actually here, and we can play around with it. So probably the more of these we do, the better. So people can really kind of grasp what's available and also how maybe they can apply it to their workflows to be a little bit more efficient. So
Yeah,
I want to do this again
totally.
if you're down.
Yeah, no, this is great. I mean, like again, the great problem to have is like too much cool stuff happening too fast. Earlier, I was just trying to find this link. I'll drop it in the chat because it's to me some pretty inspiring stuff. So I mentioned we don't have sort of control net type functionality yet, but great request. Trying to figure out how do we get that kind of thing. But yeah, just in case you haven't seen it, like by the way, this lower one, depending on how far back you are, you may or may not see the word, but there's actually like peace written in here. And this all kind of came about. Somebody figured out how to do QR codes using, I think, Stable Diffusion, and it's pretty amazing. Like they've generalized it, so it's like now you have this spiral shape, right? Which is like, oh my god. And of course, people can't resist. It's like, well, sure, like let's throw that in a depth estimator and like make that 3D. And then like let's throw that in a image to video thing. So we'll put the word love into these guys' outfits, and we'll also make them vibe out at Woodstock. It's like, oh my god. And here's that same piece one, but like turned into an animation. Here it's the word obey. Again, you kind of might need to pull your head back. And these ones blow me away. It's literally taking the McDonald's logo and let me show you this. I think this is my favorite one. Where it's like it's what is this?
That's
This
so
is stunning
cool.
to me, right? And so again, just to set expectations. So today with Firefly, you can upload a style image, and you can, like you saw, you can get like really, really powerful control that way. The next piece of work would be a structure image. And the structure image can be an image. It could be a sketch. We gave a little preview of that as well. And also it could be a 3D composition. In fact, let me just see if I have it open still. Let me show you the sketching thing. Sketch the image. Okay, so this is essentially what we showed at the end of the sneaks. And all of these I should put the appropriate caveats on, right? These are just experimental. I can't promise we'll ever ship it, and if so, in what form. But just to let you know, like the kind of thing we're playing with. So here you see text to image. You've got this particular coastline, cliffs of Hawaii. But if you wanted a particular different composition, right? Like you wanted the sun to be
1 second,
there.
John. I don't know if everyone else, but for
Oh,
whatever reason, your screen's frozen for me, and I just want to make sure that it's not for everyone
oh,
else before
shoot.
we move forward.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Do you
It
mind
may,
unsharing and resharing and see if that helps?
yes. Maybe it's because I have QuickTime Player as opposed to my browser. Sorry, I'm
It
just
was
trying to
sharing your whole desktop, I think. So I don't know why it would
try it one
change.
more time.
But
Yes.
sorry, yeah, I know you were in the flow, but I didn't
No, it's
want
all.
to have everyone. Yeah, there we
Don't
go.
let
We
me
can
go.
see it now.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. So all right, quick recap. So we had this coastline just from a prompt. Go up to this little area on the right. Hopefully you're seeing all this. And be able to like sketch out a different coastline, keep the prompt the same, and then hit refresh. Obviously this is like just prototype UI, and get a totally different composition. And that one was like kind of cool, but like these ones to me are even cooler. So it's like, oh, I want these specific mountains and I want this specific river in that place. Again, you're not supposed to spend a bunch of time trying to make that fine art. You're just giving it a little bit of coaching. And here we've got an elk I love Lee's art style, an elk walking up the side of a mountain, but it's like, no, I specifically want him going that way. Right. So the example I gave of like, hey, my brother wants 2 cows standing up, 1 cow lying down. I can easily imagine be like, okay, roughly here's a cow, and there's like another cow lying down. And so just giving it a little bit of guidance could be super powerful.
Yeah.
And so I think part of the trick
John, we have
will be
Oh, sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh yeah, just like figuring out how do these pieces come together. And so like we're like a duck under the water, like furiously paddling, trying to get the stuff in your hands so you can then give us some feedback and like, oh, here's how I would use 3D with sketching, or here's how I would use, just an image, or here's an image plus a sketch. But yeah, it's a question, comment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's from Dehuman actually, and I missed it from earlier, so thanks for posting it in. Also, hey, good to see you. I know you've been here hanging out, so it's always nice to have you in the chat. This is the question. When it comes to uploaded imagery, will Adobe
Mhm.
Sensei check against a database of known images, logos, or other intellectual property and decide what is appropriate to use for scaffolding or styling? So I think this will be specifically for uploading reference images.
Yeah. So that actually is a great idea. It's one of the things we talked about, and we kind of debated like, do we make that a prerequisite before we turn on the style match or generative match feature? Ultimately, we turned it on without that check. But I think that would be a really powerful thing to layer in, right? Like we could take a known database like Behance or like Lightroom, right? Basically like cloud collections that Adobe manages, and check against those. Potentially, we could also, there's other repositories, right? So like check for likenesses, check for logos. Again, the goal here, like we want to find the right balance. We don't want to stifle creative expression. And at the same time, part of not stifling it means like not letting people's work be used in a way they don't approve of, right? So I think it'll be this ongoing balance and negotiation, and getting your feedback on that. I think will be helpful. And
Yeah.
yeah, just because again, a case like this, it's like, well, okay, let's say we recognize the Nike swoosh. Should we let people upload it? I don't know. Like you get into a lot of interesting questions around fair use. I kind of cut myself off. I wanted to point out um, Create.ai/tools/logos. These guys put together a thing. So like, let's say we took, the Apple logo. Um, they've got Adobe built in, and this is the benefit of being two guys in a effectively a dorm room in San Francisco, which they are. They don't have to worry about getting sued. Uh, but like, yeah, just interestingly, like, okay, yeah, you can see the kind of
Jonah, it
contours.
looks like we're getting a little bit of a screen. It's I'm seeing it too. This your screen has gone black. It seems like Discord might be having a
Oh,
hard time right now. Some people said
I
that they
think,
could see it last time. Other people
okay.
couldn't.
I think that's nature's way of telling me it's probably time to wrap it up. I also see a spider on the right, and I don't know if I'm like
I
sleep
know it freaked
deprived or
me
if
out.
other people are seeing the spider. Just do let me know. But anyway, yeah. So Gus, I mean,
Yeah,
will you put this recording online if in case,
yeah,
because I know a bunch of folks joined partway through in case you didn't see the first part.
yeah.
Go
We'll
please
share
go
the
back and let us
recording.
know.
We'll do this again too. John and I also are on Discord a lot, as well as Aaron and a lot of the other folks from Adobe. So, much like you said earlier, John, we're here. The lights are still on in the refrigerator, so to speak. So
Sure.
we're,
Nice.
we're excited to hear your feedback. There's a lot of cool stuff that was announced at Mac. So let's do this again. Nate had just a real quick to answer your question, Nate, a question on the ability to sketch as a reference. That was like
Mhm.
kind of a sneak, but it's not in the tool yet. We don't have a timeline for that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the big questions we're like debating this morning, literally, is like, how do we bring these things together so it's powerful but not overwhelming, right? Like the simplicity of this stuff, what's great, it's like you just type in words and get art, but we don't want to hit you with the 747 cockpit, and it's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it gave me power, but it's like now I don't feel like I know what I'm doing anymore. So I think sketching will be a really natural thing. We just want to expose it in a thoughtful way.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see that come to life, and I'm sure everyone here is too. So, okay, let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up. Just a big thank you to everyone that joined today. We'll share the recording. Usually, we put it on the Adobe Live YouTube channel. So Aaron's been helping us record this. We'll share the link on Discord a little bit later once it's up, and then John and I will come again and hang out. So in the meantime, try out the tools. The next time we do this, if you have questions, suggestions, ideas for us, I'm really, really keen to hear what they are, and I know John is too. So that's
Cool.
my quick outro, John. The floor is yours. Also, if you haven't yet, we put a link in the chat a couple of times. Check out John's blog. Uh, he does still blog, and also his Twitter feed does some funny stuff
Yeah.
on there around Twitter trends. So you should definitely check that out as well.
All right, gang. Well, happy Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll do it again.